Hari Om Tat Sat. Today I am going to talk on a specific topic, which is to give insight on the importance of Sanatan Dharma, the five pranas of Hinduism, of Sanatan Dharma. The cow, Gau, Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Ganga, Ganges River, Gayatri, the Gayatri Sadhana and the Gayatri Mantra, and Gopal. Gau, Gita, Ganga, Gayatri, and Gopal. Gopal usually is translated as Lord Krishna who took care of the cows, but it has a metaphorical representation also. Why is the cow so important? There are many explanations for this, but before I explain that, I would like to point out that the importance is of the cow which has the dewlap. So there is a fleshy sac below the neck. So the cow that has the dewlap is has the importance. If we look at it from the perspective of experience of people as well as the practices that were followed in the past, we were an agricultural economy, and we always had situations when the land was not very fertile or there was drought. Based on the stories I have been told from my childhood, I understand that the cow is extremely sensitive animal. It means even in drought, it can find places where one can find water. Usually people go and dig in places where there is sufficient water. They neglect the other places, but when you are in drought, you need water anyway, and the cow has the ability to detect where there is water. And when I was a child, I was told of a story where the cow is let free to look for water itself, and it goes and it starts eating grass, dried up grass at a particular place. Now that dried up grass was perhaps surviving, and it was not as dry as other grasses. It was still surviving as a grass, and it was a good source of both food and water for the cow. We also know of so there is Jiva Amrita and Bija Amrita. Both have a role. Both have in both the cases the preparation of both cow dung is used. We know of the biogas that can be produced from cow dung. Uh, the cow dung is also a very good converter of any material to fertile soil. So if it is a rocky soil and you keep adding cow dung to that soil, soon the rocky soil breaks up and we can get good fertile soil to produce food. In composting also, cow dung has a very specific role. You see, the cow dung is full of microorganisms. It has a certain microorganisms which is not available in any other. Buffalo dung has more carbon. The goat dung has more nitrogen. The chicken feed, the bird dungs have more sulfur, phosphorus, these things. So cow dung is the only excreta or waste matter which has the ability of turning things into compost or breaking the soil very fast and very well. So for a farmer, the cow is a very important tool to create or to help in his farming efforts. The oxen also come from the cow. The milk of the cow is comparatively lesser in fat and therefore extremely good for students. So overall, the cow is that is the reason why the cow is considered mother. So next is Gita, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a text that is a result of explanations and counseling by Lord Krishna to Arjuna on the battlefield when he almost goes into distress and is unable into despondency and is unable to make a decision by himself. Anybody who has read Bhagavad Gita, he has always found solutions for himself. If an engineer reads Bhagavad Gita, he finds solutions for himself. If a doctor faces any kind of emotional issues, reads Bhagavad Gita, he finds solutions for himself. If a soldier reads, if a businessman reads, anybody who has read Bhagavad Gita has found solutions. It does not mean that he understood it perfectly. It certainly means that reading Bhagavad Gita gives a person sufficient direction to start out. Bhagavad Gita basically talks of detachment, being detached, and makes us duty conscious. We must be conscious of our duties. India has had the good luck to come to certain conclusions about life and attitude to life. One of those conclusions was duty, the sense of duty. We have responsibilities, we have duties. The Western and other cultures generally do not have this concept so high. Of course, any organized society cannot survive without the sense of duty. So, there is a sense of duty in the West also, but very limited, not among the masses. In India, even among masses, we see this sense of duty and family. And this we find more because we were an agricultural society and people were quite decentralized. There was no central authority, overall authority. The only central authority was the knowledge that had been learned and passed down to us by the rishis. So in every zone, there was some rishi or other, or some rishis or other, and we learned from them and we followed the convictions and the education passed down to us by them. Ganga. Ganga, every village, wherever there is a river, people try to say that this is Ganga. But the main Ganga water is a bit different from other rivers. It is said that there have been scientific tests and people have found that the waste water which is thrown into Ganga does not soil the Ganga water. It may make it look dirty, it may pollute it, but The properties of the river Ganga are not destroyed. This is unlike Yamuna. Yamuna river at places is dead actually, because so much pollutant has been thrown into it. But Ganga river does not get affected by that waste in that sense. It still is able to sustain life. It is nowhere dead. Ganga is also special because, and that is why perhaps great yogis lived on the banks of Ganga and not Yamuna so much, because I have known practitioners, very strong practitioners, who would drink Ganga water regularly. And they said it is both cooling and it keeps the body healthy, because it has certain bacteria which destroys the microbes and bad bacteria. So Ganga water is also therefore extremely soothing for a personality and the growth of the personality, and facilitates the growth of the personality. Both Ganga and Yamuna come from Himalayas, but Ganga possibly has a source or comes through areas which give it this special property. Gayatri. In itself, the Gayatri mantra speaks of the highest knowledge. It says that I bow to that sun which is the source of all the suns, which is the source of illumination for all the suns, all the things that illumine. But the world as it was, and it still is to a great extent, was highly emotional. And therefore, education was extremely necessary for societies to evolve and grow and progress. Wherever societies are ruled by emotion and money, usually those societies are unable to thrive, because they keep getting pulled into wars and unnecessary fights, sectarian fights. For this, it was necessary it was necessary that the people be trained to think intelligently. And it was identified that the middle brain is an important part. Middle brain and the corresponding organs like pineal gland, etc., are important parts in that influence the role and behavior of people, the attitude of people. And whether it is Gayatri Mudras or Surya Namaskar, all of which came under the practice of Gayatri, or Anulom Vilom Pranayam, all of this was influential and played a crucial role, a critical role in the growth of the personality. And that is why that is how people got trained into thinking intelligently and being clear about the nuances. Go, Gita, Ganga, Gayatri, and Gopal. The senses are like the horses. The horses can pull us here and there, but if we can tame these horses, we can draw a single chariot with these horses. So the senses have to be aligned, the senses have to be under control, the senses have to be restrained, the senses have to be trained. Gopal is one who is able to feed and train the senses. That is how, in reality, also Krishna took care of the chariot during the war during the Kurukshetra war. So these five core ideas are essential for any society that wants peace and that needs to grow with harmony and balance. And that is why, despite all the things that may be said about Indian culture and Indian civilization, or even Indian deities, our methods do not depend on war economies or hatred. Our methods depend on methods that help people to thrive and survive. Our methods are not exploitative. During the COVID, India had given away vaccinations free of cost to nations that were unable to do research or produce the vaccines. India has always avoided wars. India could have very well gone into wars. We have large population and sufficient economy to sustain wars. But then we would never be able to grow, neither in knowledge nor in prosperity. Many communities come and stay in India and they are able to thrive, particularly if they aim for peace and not try to build up hatred. But on the other hand, we find different systems, different ideologies that purely depend on war and exploitation of resources. We have the concept of yajna. No other civilization has this concept. Modern youngsters are coming up with the idea of being vegan, being friendly to nature, but we already knew this. The only thing is, most of the times it was supported by communities. And with the advent of the British took away the responsibility as well as the money that was collected for the activities and made people dependent on the British. And to some extent, initially they took care. But their main aim was to take away the money, take away the collections. And over a period of time, the people learned to not work as communities and they began to neglect all the water bodies, all the forests, the wild animals, the support to the domestic animals as when they grew old. All of this slowly waned away, and today we have a situation that the people are no more responsible and the nature around us is suffering. The system of yajna has gone through a break. It is a broken system now. This needs to be revived. Only when we give can we get. One of the great masters who is known for reviving rivers, he told me the secret is very simple. When the rain comes, we have to feed the ground sufficient water. If the water flows away, then you can never get water. The aquifers don't get filled up. We need to make sure that the aquifers get that water. We need to build up systems so that the water enters the aquifers and stays and does not flow away into the rivers and streams and into the sea. And that applies to everything. We need to protect the forests. For saving water, we need to plant forests. And we cannot have forests which use and exploit. We need forests which store and hold. So trees that hold water when the rains come and they flourish. And when the rains are not there, they slowly keep letting this water out into the soil, ensuring that the rivers don't dry up. We need sufficient mud dams. We need sufficient ways that the water does not flow away. We need to protect the forests. If we protect the forest, the animals will be protected. The animals will have sanctuaries. We can create sanctuaries for the animals. When the animals are there, when the forests are there, when the water is there, the nature will thrive. And when we have this attitude, we naturally will be disciplined and we will not go for activities that induce hatred, that induce wars, because the attitude itself cannot thrive. You can have only one thing. Either you can have deserts and wastelands and killings and robberies and dacoities and exploitation, or you can have a thriving world, thriving economy, thriving environment. Both are not possible. The economies and the communities that evolved in wastelands need to learn, need to convert their wastelands into thriving lands. It is unfortunate that their forefathers were born in those lands. It is unfortunate that they never learned, never got the opportunity to learn how to turn that wasteland into thriving environment. But now it is possible. But if for a few pennies people are going to induce hatred, then as Buddha has said, if you hold coal in your hands, it is your own hand which is going to burn. So we need to understand this. We need to understand that India or Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma is not just a religion, it is far beyond that. It is a lifestyle, it is a culture, it is a civilization, and it is a huge bank of knowledge which can feed and provide way to others. In all the other systems, you are dependent on the priest. We are not dependent on the priest. Priest is a facilitator. We are dependent on practices. We practice to make our brain strong. We practice to make our neuron system strong. We practice to make our mind strong. We practice to tame our senses. We practice to make our body strong. We practice. We depend on practices, attitude, and culture, and the knowledge which has been handed over to us. If you go for sectarian systems, many times those sectarian systems may have a line or two or five which talks of knowledge. In the whole Bible, I have seen only one line which says everything came from the word. The rest is all about not knowledge but attitude. Yes, it does give guidance, but when you fight for it, it means it has not served its purpose. The same with Sikhism also. Sikhism has a lot of lines coming from Upanishads, coming from hundreds of masters that Guru Nanak visited in his 18 world travels. I think it was 18. And then he used it to sustain and support and bring peace to the environment around him. And that's how he drew large masses to his teachings. But today, since people are trying to chase money, trying to go down to whatever extent possible so that they don't have to accept that there is more to learning, there are practices, there are teachings, there are attainments of human personality which go beyond those texts. The texts are great manuals and preparations. Unless we believe this, we won't understand it. I had a small discussion with a great gentleman who is a very nice person. I had a discussion on the social media, so I don't want to take his name, but he was telling me that we are supposed to wear the turban tight. I said, everyone, he said, we have to wear, the Guru Gobind Singh has asked us to wear the turban. I said, yes, everyone in North India is supposed to cover his head because the sun is very strong. It is not so much in South India because there are enough trees, enough covering. But North India has extremely hot sun, and therefore also further up north, whether it is Afghanistan or whether it is Iran or other places, Iraq, Arabia, everywhere you have to cover the head because the sun is very strong and it affects your brain nervous system. So to protect that, you need to cover your head. So he said, no, we have been asked to wear the turban tight. Yes, because in North India, it was very cold. Having hairs meant your head would be warm during cold times. In fact, there was one great rishi who was called Kesh Kambali. Means he had matted hairs with which he would cover his own body during cold. He had long matted hairs which he used as a blanket during extreme cold. So the hair had a reason, and most probably it was not possible also for people to shave or even pull out the hairs during cold seasons, and it was not favorable also because having the hair was an asset. So the culture, we have two cultures, one where we shave hairs, one where we keep hairs. Keeping hairs helps us in various ways, and one of those ways is keeping us warm. So now if you have hair and you have the matted hair or even of otherwise, if you are going to fight wars on horse, you have to keep it tight. You cannot keep it loose. I do not know what kind of accidents would happen if you kept it loose, but I can understand some of the accidents. You also can think and understand. Because it is not mentioned anywhere, I won't discuss it. But some of them are very obvious. I mean, you try cycling very fast with matted hair, on a bumpy road for a long distance, you will come to know. So even this understanding, this insight, this intelligent, educated, active, nationalistic person did not have. So it is necessary that we develop our ability to think insightfully, act intelligently, and be strong emotionally. Building hatred does not help. We also need to understand that in India, particularly in Sanatan system, we respect two sources of knowledge. One we call Vedic, one we call Aptavachan. Aptavachan is learnings of the masters, advice of the masters, advice of the great rishis. Vedas are insights of the great rishis, which were also used to keep it alive in rituals and to have positive auto-suggestions, which could take us to knowledge. So, while religious scriptures are important, they are useful, but they are like kindergarten education. You learn extremely basics. The rest you have to live yourself, discover yourself. Even if somebody comes and teaches you, if you do not have an evolved mind, you will not be able to understand, and you will be only led and eventually exploited. which is what is happening in most of the Middle Eastern systems, Abrahamic systems. So it's extremely important that we learn this, we move away after a certain point from being a religious person to being a person with right attitude, right insight, right understanding, and right tools that help us to go into the unknown of the huge expanse of spiritual domain. I'm not sure how clear I have been. In the end, all I will say is, whatever is your religion, pick up a line that you associate strongly with the religion. If you are a Sikh, you can have Satnam or Omkar or Satnam Omkar or Vaheguru or any such line. Chant it the whole night, particularly on the new moon nights. You will have to prepare for that. So every day you will have to do some chanting and chant it the whole night. Chant it by creating challenges for yourself. Even the new moon night itself is a challenge, but create more challenges. In Tantra, we go on a cremation ground and do the chanting. So go wherever you need to, wherever you feel there is more fear, wherever you feel there is more emotional challenges, and do the chantings for long, long hours. That is a very good beginning, very good preparation. It will help you to become smarter, intelligent, and be capable of seeing the nuances. Do the practices. They are just breathing practices. Do the practices and see how they affect your mind. One gentleman said that he was sick actually. He said he stopped drinking and he stopped eating meat. That itself, this simple step made him, he says, according to him, made him much calmer, much clearer in the head. So if you are proud of being impulsive, please understand it is not helpful to anyone. It is not helpful for the thriving of the societies. It can at the most make you a good tool for your priest so that he can send you into suicide squads. Hatred does not help. Wrong direction does not help. If India started hitting back for every wrong that has been done to it, the world will be a hell, because we have a huge population and we have a lot of people who are discontent. Everyone makes choices in life. If many choices go wrong, and one, if he's not smart enough, will continue hating others for that, keep blaming others for that. Solution is not there. Solution is in practice. Solution is in sharpening the mind. Solution is in being able to intuit things. And the solution is in working for a society that is balanced and in harmony. And you also live in harmony with that society. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hope I was helpful and clear. Hari Om.